Hello and welcome to another week of mastering tips and tricks presented by Blend Mastering. We're here this week to address a question and a problem that we face almost every single day, and that is, how do you prepare your track for mastering? Alright, so I've jumped out of Pro Tools today to get into Ableton because I know a lot of you guys use Ableton, a lot of you guys use FL Studio, and either is completely fine. The concept that I'm going to teach you today is exactly the same in both. You just might find it in different places. Alright, so we've just got our track here. We'll just give you a quick... Alright, so we've decided that perfect, she's ready for mastering. Now, a lot of you also, while you're producing, have put on different things on the master channel. So here's your master here in Ableton. In FL Studio, it'll be somewhere else, but it'll still be called, or it'll still do the exact same thing. It's where all the tracks go, they meet together here in the master, and then they go out of the master into your speakers. Alright, so while we were producing this, we got a bit of Vox and Go tube amp, thought it was loose, so we put it on, kept it. Great, that sounded awesome on the master. We also did a bit of EQing on our master. We wanted a bit more highs, a bit more lows, a bit less of the low mids, and a little bump around 500. Awesome, that sounded sick, so we're going to keep that. Then we went to Ozone and we were just like, well, we might do a bit of mastering ourselves while we're producing so we know how it's going to sound. Didn't worry about any EQ, bit of dynamic processing, and then we've got our maximizer and it's just cranked. Now this is the first mistake that I wanted to talk about. Do not send a track for mastering with a limiter already on, especially a limiter that is already crushing the track. So I'll show you what it's doing. Alright, so all that is killing all the dynamics in the song, and we want to keep some of those when we're mastering. But I know if you're just going to stick a limiter on, some of you guys don't know, or you just think that'll be the go, and then you put the limiter on and then you send it to us and all those beautiful peaks are already squashed and they're already distorted or destroyed. We can't do anything. You can't really bring them back. So that's the first go. Number one rule, get rid of your limiters and compressors from the master channel. But this EQ and this tube amp, they can stay because they're not limiting or compressing. They're just, well, a tube amp and a EQ, so that's completely fine. If you think that sounds great over your master, leave it on. Perfect. Alright, so we'll just play it again. Alright, the next trouble that we always see. Did you see this going into the red? I'll play it again for you just in... Alright, now because you took the limiter off, the next thing a lot of people will do is they'll just send through the track like it is now. Now what's actually happening is, because you took the limiter off, there's nothing to stop those peaks from distorting, and now you've got a track full of distortion. So a lot of people send that through as well, and that's another issue. Alright, so what you've got to do after you remove your limiters and compressors from the master channel is you've got to go through and individually on each track, turn it down. Let's say I'll just do roughly 5 dB. Now you'd want to be a bit more specific so you keep your levels balanced properly, but this is just a demonstration. So say 5 dB if it's just peaking, and then still peaking, so we're going to go more on each one. I'm going another 5 just to go real crazy on it here. Alright. That's a lot better. See how it's in the green and we've got some headroom. Perfect, we need some headroom to work. Normally what we'll say is -6 dB in the loudest section of headroom. Now we've got this meter here, and this is what we can have a look at and see how much headroom we have. I'm not sure about FL Studio, but Ableton's metering system is pretty bad, the inbuilt one, because it doesn't give you any numbers down there, so you don't know where you're at. So as a rule, stay out of the red. And then if you do have an extra a meter that you can look at, use that. I've got this one, it's free, and it's really, really good because it's got your RMS reading and your dynamic range as well, which is perfect. But we're just looking at the... Alright, now that's pretty much perfect. You see how that's coming up to about -6? We'll look again. What you want to look is the thin one. It's the more transient reader. The other is your RMS, which is slow developing over time. Alright, so it went a little bit over -6 in the... That'll be the loudest section of this song. So that's what you got to check. You got to go to the loudest section, play it, and make sure it's not much over -6. Now, the -6 rule, that's not definite. We just say -6 so that you don't give us something that's clipping or distorted or right up at 0. We need some room to play with. So -6, that's quite a good number I've found. In this case, don't sweat too much. It was -5 or -4. That's fine. But as a rule, just don't go over -3. If it's in between 6 and 3, fine. If it's even quieter than 6, fine. If it's quieter than 9, that's alright as well. Alright, cool. So that's those two sorted. Those are by far the biggest two that people just always fail to do. So I should have turned off the limiter before. Alright. Now, when you want to bounce it out next. So I haven't used Ableton for a while. Alright, so you want to export. So FL Studio or Pro Tools. Pro Tools is called bounce. Oftentimes it's called render, bounce, render, export, any of those. Now, in Ableton, you've got the channel, you got the ability to select what channel. You want the master because that's the main one. You definitely don't want to normalize it. You definitely don't want to convert to mono. The sample rate should be the same as your project. Normally that would be 44.1, but this project was actually 48. And you don't want to do any sample rate conversions here. So just have this set out as what you had the project at the start. So you don't want to change it. If it was 32, keep it as 32. If it was 16, keep it as 16, etc, etc. Now file type, oftentimes you'll have the option to go .mp3 as well. Ableton's awesome in the fact that it doesn't let you do that, which is good for mastering, but it's really bad when you just want to put a quick song up on SoundCloud. Alright, so you want .wav, that's a definite, no MP3s. MP3 format, you lose all the data, you lose all your dynamics, you lose, it introduces heaps of artifacts. We just do not touch compressed format files. So .wav is an uncompressed format, which is perfect to send off to mastering. AIFF is also an uncompressed format, so that's fine as well. No dither, definitely no dither. We'll be doing that in the mastering process. And then you just press OK, find where you want to save it, and then just press save. And that'll save it through for you. Alright, that's all today, guys. I hope you learned something, and please make sure you abide by those tips next time you're getting your track sent off for mastering, and it will be a whole lot easier. And it's a good practice as well to, while you're mixing, keeping the volume down. Like, you shouldn't have to do any of these steps when you send it for mastering, because this is best practice mixing. This is what you should be doing while you're mixing. So you shouldn't be mixing really loud and then you want to get it mastered, so you turn everything down. You should be mixing really quietly, and then when you get it sent off for mastering, it's ready to go. You just bounce it out, export it. Maybe you were mixing through a limiter just to hear how it sounds. That's fine. Just make sure you turn that off. Make sure nothing's clipping and it's about -6 dB in the loudest section, and .wav. Alright, thanks heaps, guys. As always, like, comment, subscribe if you thought it was helpful, and look forward to hearing your music soon.